voice. I wanted him to be a robot. I wanted him to have feelings. And so the little waver in his voice brings a personality through. He was sort of an angry alien. He had me in here, and he was, damn it, Ben, for crying out loud. What the Sam Hill? It's time for me to die. I'm going to die a horrible death. Yes, Fanzimo. I don't know who you are to know what you want, but I will find you, and I will kill you. Yes, there must be cake. Where is the cake?
It's the ins and outs with Mackie.
Hi, I'm Jamie Hernandez, and this is the Ins and Outs with Mackie, a show about awesome gear and awesome people. We'll be bringing you musicians, engineers, podcasters, streamers, and sometimes the occasional Mackoid. If you're new to the show, make sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite platform to get all the latest Mackie updates as soon as they are out. So today we're doing something we've never done before. Our guest today has a filmography as far-spanning as his vocal range. Chances are you've already heard him in some form on television, movies, and even video games these last 30 years. He's the only voice actor to have played Optimus Prime and Megatron. He's voiced for Superman, Professor X, he's Clank in Ratchet and Clank, and he's even the in-show announcer for Last Week Tonight.
How is this still a thing?
Honestly, the list goes on and on. It brings me great pleasure to introduce a celebrity voice actor, David Kaye. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Say your last name again.
Hernandez.
You said that. I went. Oh, wow. It's. I love when you say that because it doesn't work if I say that.
I'm sure you would be able to figure it out pretty good. I heard you're pretty good at voices, so.
I could send you my cassette. I have a cassette tape somewhere I could send out.
You mentioned that. Yeah, you mentioned a There's they came out with this MP40. I don't even know what it stands for. MP43. It's this toy, and it's amazing. I don't even want to open this thing up because I'll never be able to put it back together. But that's what kind of started the whole thing. I had a few toys in the studio, but that kind of started everything off. I went, oh, this world exists. So yeah, that's him, Megatron.
I love it. Well, let's jump right into it. I mean, how did this amazing resume begin? I believe you started in radio?
Yeah, with a small white lie. With a little fib, as my mother would say.
You didn't tell a fib, did you? As a matter of fact, I did, Mom.
So it's kind of I was hired in radio in Vancouver by the late, great Pat Cardinal, who ran him and Brad Phillips. I came from, I kind of went around Southern Ontario, and I wound my way to British Columbia, and Pat and Brad brought me to LG73 at the time. And Vancouver, the West Coast, I thought, I belong here. I was born back in Ontario, and I had to get out. I'm one of the few of the family members that kind of left, and the West Coast just felt good, and that's where I was doing. I don't know what I was doing. I ended up being I think afternoon drive or something. I had all day, and I went out and joined up with this commercial modeling course.
Modeling course.
It was a commercial, and I thought, well, the commercial sounds. So you go in, and I think I always say this: if you had one eye in the middle of your head, they go, "Wow, you could be a model. You should sign here and give us your money." And then, so I thought, well, okay, I did, and. The modeling part was weird and strange, and I wasn't too much down with that. But the commercial part is when I met my first agent, and you had to learn lines and do a little commercial or whatever it was, and I kind of enjoyed that. So I developed these voices during radio, and then doing some theater work and doing a little bit of on-camera stuff. And this cartoon came around about '89. Deke Animation. They used to have an office right over here in Burbank, not too far from me in Toluca Lake.
Okay.
And it used to call it Deke Animation, D-I-C, done in Canada. I never really knew that until later on. When I moved down here, I go, oh, that's what they used to say, done. So G.I. Joe was this cartoon, and I was called in to do the great American hero, General Hawk. And here's this Canadian kid going in. And I read a couple of roles, and it was at quick follow me toward the danger sort of stuff. And I didn't know had no idea what I was doing. And 6 weeks later, I got a call back, and I got the news that I'm General Hawk, and I had no idea because my agent said, "Do you know how to do voices?" And I went, "Sure." I didn't, it was a little, I don't know. So I got the role. So ever since that moment, it's sort of I knew my path would lead to the U.S. because I was always in love with this country and wanted to be part of it in the radio and since getting the role of the great American hero General Hawk, I always sort of felt guilty. And I remember we became U.S. citizens a number of years ago, and I came out of the big convention center down in downtown Los Angeles and went, all right, now I can say I'm the great American hero. I can no longer feel bad. And so that's sort of how it started with G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
And that cartoon sort of went to, okay, it led me, funny enough, as I think back, on a path. This path that sort of led me, here. It's funny how that happens,
Do you think working in radio and theater opened up those other creative avenues for you?
Yeah, I think so, because I had a lot of heroes in the business. One of them, interestingly enough, I have his little note here in the studio. I have it right here. Many years ago, I used to write and I used to read everything that Rick Dees ever put to pen to paper about his career and how he started, in North Carolina, I think it was, and became, of course, a big personality on Kiss FM. Rick Dees. And I said, Dear David, you never cease to amaze me. Thank you so much for adding your phenomenal voice and talent to my various projects. You're number one, your friend Rick. And I go, Rick, there. Because as a kid, I just wanted to, be anywhere near. And we're friends now.
Yeah.
He texted me the other day. How you guys doing? You holding up okay? Yeah, Rick, I'm good. I was like, that's Rick Dees.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how you never know where things go. But I don't even remember the question you asked, so please stop me.
No, it was perfect. Now I was
good.
asking if it opened up, the door to your other creative avenues, which it obviously has.
It did.
So do you feel that it was a natural progression to go into voiceover work since you already had so much experience behind a microphone?
Well, I didn't really know there was a such thing as voiceover work. There's a friend of mine, Jim Conrad, who was a voice in Vancouver when I was working at LG. He was a voice of C Fox, and he was a voice or CFMI, I think it was. And he was like the voice guy in town. He goes, oh, that'd be cool. What does he do that for a living? Wow, that's awesome. And he was always a mentor of mine. And I thought, well, if I could get like a small percentage of radio and television stations to hire me as their voice, and I can do the math and go, wow, that's kind of cool. That became like the first focus. And then when I got the first cartoon, I went, oh, that's what I want to do. I remember I thought, okay, this is shift now. I don't want to do radio. I don't know. I remember doing middays in Vancouver at LG, and I'd be kind of sitting there like, and the break would be Madonna LG 73, and I hit the button off, and I go back to watching the Monkees on MTV. My mind was already in that world, and so I did everything I could. I wanted to be part of that, and then somebody hired me for a commercial campaign for a furniture store, which I'm still doing 30 years later.
Oh, wow.
That was one of my first clients, and so I started getting a taste of, oh, okay, there's this whole other world, and commercials started happening. I begged one of the local producers in Vancouver, a small house called Coco Productions at the time. I said, just, even if you don't think I can do it, just bring me in. I became friends with him, and he brought me in, and I booked the stupid thing. And so that started. So there's always one person. All it takes is one person to say yes. There's going to be a lot of no's. And in this business, there are a ton of no's. The older you get, the more time you're in it, the less you care. Like, whatever, moving on. But it's just one person, and there's so many people I want to thank over my career to get me to this point. It's just not me doing this. It's a whole. It takes a village.
Definitely.
That whole thing, man. But yeah.
Speaking of a village, well, your work history covers a wide range of voices. Do you find it more challenging to find work when you're capable of doing so much variety? Is it the opposite, or do you feel like you're constantly turning people away? How does that work for you?
That's been one of the issues, because we would always, when designing a website or designing a new website or designing a new campaign or doing, because there's about 38 to 40 people that I deal with, like agents and managers on a daily basis from New York to LA to here and some in Canada still. That send me stuff to read, and so how do we convey that I do this and I also do that, and the variety of things that can be a a burden, especially in trailers. Now, in movie trailers, I've been fortunate to have done a bunch of trailers, but they're sort of all over the map. There is a campaign I did for Richard Jewell for Clint Eastwood's production company, and from that they hired me to do the Ben Affleck movie where he's the basketball coach. It's a heavy, and because they heard me, and I finally, it took 25 years to find my read. So, and when I work a mic on trailers, it's a you do. I always say, give me everything, but give me nothing. Sell it, but don't sell it. It's a real fine line in trailers. And my mentor, one of my mentors, the late Don LaFontaine, told me once, you should be doing this. You should be. And I go, oh my God, Don LaFontaine. But it's taken because it's so easy to go overboard on trailers. You have to really do as little as possible. And finally, after all that time and after all the scratches and after all the things, I've done, character reads and once every year for Pixar. And that was just me, Richard Jewell, rated PG-13. I just talk like this. And I go, oh, crap, that's it? But it took 25 years to realize that I don't need to do anything. I don't need to put any... And so... trailers is a really good industry to it can slap you upside the head. It's very difficult. You have to be yourself and to be a storyteller, and you don't want the audience who go to see a movie. Hopefully we can get back in the damn theater one day. Donna always said, you don't want the eye roll, because when you go into the movie theater, it's dark. You want to be taken out of your world because you may be having a shitty time or an awful day, and you want to be put into this other world here. You're going on a vacation for 2 hours, and you don't want an announcer to kind of snap you out of it. You want somebody who layers in. That's where in a world, once in a while, and that's a storyteller. And you kind of sink in. It's like sinking into a soft, evil leather chair where you don't really want to get up. And it's a big responsibility. In the pyramid of voiceover, the trailer is that's the top. You are responsible for me spending the $300 to take my family to a movie. You know what I mean? That's big. That's big stuff. So it's important and if after doing it, I'm like, oh my God, I understand. It's exhausting. But, it takes time. It takes time on the planet and just doing this day in, day out. That's all.
That's interesting to learn about, you putting yourself into movie trailers, because often as a child, you practice in front of the mirror, everybody does the inner world. But when you're doing characters, I'm going to use Megatron for an example. Your interpretation of him is eccentric. You're known for having added some sort of Shakespearean influences to the character, right? When you're working with characters in particular, do you find yourself portraying the characters someone else wrote, or do you develop them over time with your own flavor?
I think the second part, because it takes a few episodes to kind of drop into the character. everybody's like gung-ho at the beginning. Oh my God, I got hired. To the adrenaline's, and they're all, everybody's like, it takes about 3 or 4 episodes in and then even longer to sort of really sink into that character. But that character, it's just sort of came, I really didn't know what to do in there. They gave us a stack of paper when that audition happened. I guess it was probably back in 93, 94, somewhere there. And I was really green at this, and I got a call back, and it wasn't until the last minute. I said, I don't know what I got. I don't know. I'm reading away, pretending I know what I'm doing, in the waiting room going, oh, yes, hello. And it wasn't until I got in there that I opened my mouth, because at the last minute I thought, well, what if we, marry Anthony Hopkins, Sean Connery, and a lizard? Like, what does that sound like? And I kind of, I think I even added a bit of a lisp, and they asked me to take it out or something. But it was, yes, excellent. If I do this, perchance to dream, very Shakespearean, and I sort of added this thing, and my hand did this, and they all. I remember the bobbing heads in the room going, I don't know what they were talking about, but it seemed to go well, and it was well written. And if you look at how Shakespeare, you may not be a fan of Shakespeare, but you read the words and go, how do you write that? any great author in classics, you're like, well, how do they do that? So the writing was great, and that's a big part of it. It's like the cogs in the wheel kind of just smoothly, go by each other. And
Do you feel yourself coming through the characters like unknowingly sometimes?
oh, sure, it's all part of who we are. Yeah. I remember a good friend of mine said that we were having a conversation, an actor conversation, and we're all blah, 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 blah. And my friend says, well, we all have an evil side. My other friend says, well, I don't have an evil side. And I kind of looked at my friend Greg and went, really? I think we do. It's a human nature, and it's, nope, I don't have an evil. And so it's really important. As an actor, you need to embrace that because we're all human beings. We have this, most of us, all of us pretty much, percentage will never carry through. But we all have that in us. And as an actor, you have to be willing to go down that road. And I always say every character is a part of us. And I'm getting the chance to play, my first grandpa roles in Grandpa Max on Ben 10. That was, it's like, oh my God.
on that.
Thanks. But I'm like, that's a grandpa role. Like, hang on a second. And then I, was cast as a robot grandpa. And I go, whoa, whoa, whoa. There's robots and grandpas and dinosaurs. That's his theme. So I don't know. They're all part of who I am.
Is there a character you feel more attached to than others, David?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of them.
Or maybe even a
course.
persona that you find yourself redoing a lot in other roles.
Yeah, I mean, the Megatron thing, as Howie Mandel said in his documentary lately, is just me doing the same voice, 1,000 different times. They're all variations of, people will all do something in a role. For Teen Titans Go, there was a long form episode, Rock and Roll. It was a throwback to the 80s, and I played a dragon. And of course, on the Twitter it said, it kind of reminds me of Megatron. And there's certainly elements of there. And
You're like, I wonder why.
I've always been attracted to these English, British roles, and I love the accent, love the way it sounds, and I love to sort of play in that realm. And whenever time you get a chance to do a role, you get a chance to do it may be Welsh or Scot, the Scot. Or Irish, and we're from Belfast, so it's nasally up in there. So it's Narn Ireland, not Northern, but Narn. We're from Narn Ireland, and so any chance to kind of play in the UK, my agent comes back and says they don't want a British accent. I went, damn it, damn it, because I got a real good one.
That's so funny.
Yeah, there's another character, Liam Neeson. I'm kind of in the same. I've done a lot of double for him because he's an Irish American, so he's here. It comes in the throat. I don't know who you are, don't know what you want, but I will find you and I will kill you. And he has a wonderful quality, and I always seem to like to gravitate to something that would call for a bit of an accent or a bit of something.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be me. Deal with me every. I want to be something else.
So going back to Grandpa Max, you have a featured role as Grandpa Max, your first grandpa in the film Ben 10 versus the Universe, and I hear you played more than just one role. Can we talk about that? What were some of the fun parts or even challenges there?
Yeah, it was. There was a few scenes there where it was everybody else sat down and say, "Well, I guess it's the me show." It's exhausting because you're like, and sometimes Colette Sunderman, our director, I love Colette. Shout out to Colette. She would do Grandpa Max stuff first, and there was then the Azimuth would talk, and
Azimuth, he was sort of an angry alien. He had me in here, and he was...
so we had to make sure that he was dialed in, and to go from one to the other sometimes difficult. And I played a couple of the aliens as well. But Grandpa Max is easy. It's just basically me a little older. Damn it, Ben, for crying out loud. What the Sam Hill? I always wanted to say that in one of the episodes, but they wouldn't let me. But yeah, it's great. I think there was about 4 or 5 different characters I did in that film. But we all have that responsibility in that show. All the actors who are hired are brought in knowing that they will be called upon to do not just one, but several characters. And that is a big, important thing with being brought in and hired for a cartoon show, because they know that you can handle because I don't want to pay all these other people. They can pay you, but they want to make sure that you're versatile and can handle all these other things, because you'll get thrown stuff in the middle of, oh, can you do the, man one? I go, of course, all that. You have to be on the spot and you have to be able to bring it now, which is kind of fun.
Just like like in a recording studio, the more if you're the engineer, you can mix, you can set it up. It's better.
Yeah.
You have more opportunity
Yes.
that way. So that's
Absolutely.
a really good point too that you mentioned there. So you're no stranger to doing films. Kind of wanted to bring up Ratchet and Clank, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Not only did Ratchet and Clank have a recent feature film adaptation, but Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is a launch title for the new PS5 console. Congratulations. That's an honor.
Thanks. There he is.
There he is.
See,
Is it
there's a-
bittersweet to come back to a character like that after so many years?
Oh no, I love Clank. There's another example of you just don't know where this is going to go, because it was a paragraph for Transformers and Beast Wars. It was a Bible stack of the relationships, and for Clank it was one paragraph. And it was, we want him to sound, he's a little robot, but we don't want him to sound like, we want him to have like a personality and all that. And geez, I don't know. And I kind of rolled, at the time I rolled the DAT. That was a long time ago. And I said, well, okay. And
I would start talking like this. I wanted him to be a robot. I wanted him to have feelings. And so the little waver in his voice brings a personality through. So in the movie where you want people to feel something, there's another big point that you have to, if you're on camera, we can see your emotion in your eye. We can see that you're about to cry, or we can see a lot going on with you just doing nothing. But behind the microphone, as you have to be able to cry. You have to be able to emotion, and you have to, go there. And there was a few episodes where we went there, and it was like, hang on a second. Because he's a robot. So, and it's a real tightrope. Oh, Ratchet, I'm not sure. I'm going to miss you. You have to. There's going to be something in there that the people, to feel for the character.
You
And
almost
you have
humanizing them. It
you have
makes
to feel it
relate to them.
yourself. It's got to be
Exactly.
truthful. It all comes down to truth. It's what's in here, in your heart, and it's not necessarily here, but I really go for what's here. So that's the trouble. Not trouble, but that's the what is it? That's where you want to get to with a character is he has feelings, he has a soul, he or she is they are a being. They're not just a character. Even my good friend Tom Kenny, who's SpongeBob, and Tom's so great because there's emotion there. It's not just a character. It's a being. That these characters have souls. So that's the trick of bringing a character to life, giving them a soul.
What's it like being associated with characters that are so iconic?
We've all seen those movies where. Or the Saturday Night Live or sketches where there's a catchphrase, I think Martin Short in second season.
Yeah.
And I realized after a couple of conventions I was invited to as Megatron, somebody in the background goes, "Hey, Mr. K, I have a question for you. Can you say yes?" And I go, "Here it is." I went, "Yes." And the whole room went nuts. And I went, "Wow." So I have a catchphrase. I'm like the movie.
That yes is very epic. It is very epic. Even to our
Sing.
team, they were all asking me about it before we got on camera. So
Yes, excellent.
Very epic.
Yes, yeah. And it's like the same as by Grabthar's hammer I will avenge thee from Alan Rickman and what's the
Alan
other that space movie? Help me. What was that movie called with
Galaxy
Quest? That's it. I love that film because that's real. By Grandpa's hammer, I will avenge thee. I don't want to say it again, but thank goodness they asked me to say it, and it's crazy after all these years. I would like to redo some of those scenes because I hear it once in a while and I go, "Oh, I could have done that better." But it's part of its fandom, and it's an honor. It really is an honor.
That's awesome. Okay, well, last but not least, so we noticed a few Inuyasha adaptation rolling out
No.
in Japan. You're well known for playing Inuyasha's half brother, Shishamuru. Hopefully I'm saying that
Sesshomaru,
right.
yeah. Sesshomaru, I had trouble with that. Yeah,
Are the
Sesshomaru.
odds good that you'll be part of the English dubbed version when it comes out?
I don't know. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of swirl.
I call there's some swirl. There's definitely some swirl.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I get a lot of the fans, and some of them are really mad. I go, hey, slow down. Because I left Canada and we moved down here many years ago, and they did the series up in Vancouver, the Ocean Group, and that's where I cut my teeth and had a lot of great, tons of fun there, and that's where the series was done, the anime, the English dub. And I left, and I didn't think anything of it. And I guess there was another season, and they had to recast, and that's what they do. People, I didn't think anything of it. And people were really mad. Well, I couldn't because I was here. That doesn't work. There's a whole other bunch of stuff that goes on. So I know, now that being here, and I don't know. I think it's probably it would be easier for me to do it now, I think, because the show is I believe is being produced like basically down the street.
Yeah.
So
I could walk if they want me.
Well, there you
I could
go.
literally walk there from my house to the studio. So I'm throwing that out there just in case anyone's listening that is in charge of anything that they can need. But
Well, we're
I would
keeping
definitely.
our fingers crossed, David, for sure.
Yeah, me too, absolutely.
So let's get into doing the work. Some gear talk. It's not obviously. There's a lot of work that comes from building your voice and becoming a voice actor. But what are some things you learned along the way regarding gear? What has been your experience recording your voice for the different roles you've done?
Well, by the way, thank you for the headphones here. You guys.
Oh yes, Mackie sent some
my
headphones
God.
for you to try out.
Mackie, are you kidding me? These are, and I
Yeah.
am wearing them right now. They are stylish, but no, they actually feel really good. And the microphone that I got, I can't wait to use this on the road. I'm going to try and record a last week tonight on this microphone from a car.
Yes, there's a
That's what I
EM
wanna try.
USB. It has a handy dandy mute button. So if you got a
That's
cough,
right.
David, we got you covered.
That's right. And now, that's right. So thank you. But yeah, the equipment is key. I never ever wanted anyone to go. I never wanted to be that guy that sends in the tape that just sounds like crap, or that's like recorded on the, and
Yeah.
God bless the folks who do, and because no one knows how to start. You have to just start somewhere, right? We all did, and I thought if I'm going to do this, and I wanted my own studio like years ago, my first studio in our first, back in North Vancouver, I put a studio downstairs. I think I put a couple of illegal rooms in houses along the way. Building inspector comes up, okay, signed off on here, and then we go in and we just like
Nothing going
knock
on
out
here.
a wall, put a studio in. I wanted that. I wanted my own radio station. I wanted my own place to record my stuff. Now, I was lucky enough back in the day to have found an amazing Neumann U67 tube condenser, which is worth a fortune now. And I was using that for years. It was an LA3A, the old Yuri Hollywood limiter compressor that was, you can rent those things. And I mean, they're worth a fortune. I think it was a Neve 1066 preamp strip. And that mic chain was my chain for a while. Now, I think I probably over the first number of years had too much processing on it because coming from radio, you like that big sound, but I'm running real lean and mean now. I mean, the Mackie boards. Remember, there was nothing going. We took everything off eventually, all the processing. In the Apollo that I have now, the Apollo Twin, it's very low just enough to cut down. If the air conditioning's on, you can't hear it, but there is a bit of a noise gate, and my engineer, George Whittam, makes sure that he comes in and does a little test and make sure we're all good. But it's just so important to have the correct gear, and especially now, when this whole pandemic hit, I had a couple friends of mine call me, and they said, look, man, is there any chance? No, man, I'm sorry, but no one's coming over here. No one's coming anywhere near my house, without a mask. But no. And I felt bad because I kept telling, there's a few people I kept saying, look, hey man, spend a couple of grand and you're good to go. There's my buddy, the Tribe booth, George and Rick Wasserman, another great voiceover guy, designed the Tribe booth, and it's in a suitcase. So for a minimal investment, you could have a proper professional sounding studio. And we're in this position where some of the games that we're recording call for lav mics, the Omni mics, and then they they clip to your head, and they're for video games, and they're fantastic. So, and they're like about $400. And I thought, you know what, let's get one. And we went to our place. We escaped to Canada for 2 months this year, and we're lucky we could because we still got the passport. But I used the mic setup there in my studio up there. Same gear as I have here, same mic, the Peluso P67 tube. It's a beautiful mic made back east, and no one knew where I was. I mean, it didn't matter. So it's important. The quality has got to be great, especially now when people are doing it from their houses.
So it sounds like you keep things pretty bare bones. You like to really just rely on your voice and keep it simple. It's what's odd is when it comes to music, there's a lot of engineers and singers out there who often rely on auto-tune and EQ and a bunch of compression to achieve their ideal finished product. Yeah. There must be some must-haves in the studio for professional voice actors and actresses when recording a project. What does your setup look like right now? I mean, do you use a mixer? Are you just a standalone mic? How does that work for you guys?
It's the mixer and the Apollo and the mic, and because then the computer is part of it. It really is. I don't know if you can see sort of around here, but the studio is designed like for the 40s or whatever. But it's there's the boards there, and I'm on the computer screen, the mic. Of course, now you have to have a couple of cameras because we're doing, work like so everybody's doing Zoom sessions and all the animation stuff. I have another microphone over here. Sometimes trailers and certain projects are done with the Sennheiser, the 416 shotgun, and we can see there. So that's off to the side in case I need to use that. I do have that Omni set up that's easy to plug in. The room is sure. I think I'm going to sit down here. Give me 1 second. But I think the room is really important. When we did this room, we gutted this guest house and we made it a proper studio because Burbank Airport is not too far back that way. And I didn't want to hear any of that. So double walls, proper rubber pucks between the joists. So there's no vibration. A quiet air conditioning system. Now, I spent a bunch of money doing this. If you spend like $1,500 on a Tribe booth in a suitcase that the Rick Wasserman and George design, it's great with the blanket, but it's the room's got to be dead. That's really important. If you're using your closet, it better be a good sounding closet. But the room's got to sound good because a lot of these games, that they're doing cartoons, it's got to be pro quality. It can't just be slapped together. You got to sort of think about it.
That's right. Definitely. Well, technology has definitely changed a lot. There's so many home studios. There's podcasters, YouTube channels, and more. Do you feel like the market's getting overcrowded, or do you feel like there's an abundance of work out there for everyone?
Oh boy, that's a tough question because, look, when I get into it, there was no roadmap, and I was asked to come to Atlanta about 4 years ago and be a keynote speaker, and I go, what? Me for what? On the voiceover and stuff, and so now there are, or at least for the moment, they're not happening, but there are weekend workshops almost every weekend where people are being taught how to do voiceover. Now, that's all great, but it's a business, and here's an example. I called one of my agents there. I said, so when this pandemic was, I said, so I bet you're getting a lot of calls. She goes, oh my God, DK, you wouldn't believe the phone calls. And don't forget, in New York, there are Broadway professional amazing actors trying to get into voiceover now because they're not on stage. It's a bit of a different animal. You got some, and when you're doing cartoons, you're always going to be competing with the celebrities because they're going to be able to sell the feature. And let me just put it this way: it is crowded. So your audition and what you're doing has to be that good that they can lift that audition and put it on the air. And that happens a lot, especially now. They don't have time. So if you're there, then hey, and you have access via some top managers who've been able to hang in the top agencies. You have access to the material, and you're fortunate enough to be given that stuff every day, day in, day out. Sure, but getting into it now, I wouldn't want to get into it now. Oh my God!
Sounds like having an agency has helped out a lot in your case.
It has, but just to have the years under your belt, just to have the various projects, because they know that you can do it. Now, the one good thing about Los Angeles and this industry as a whole is they're always looking for some new talent, which is fantastic. But again, you got to be able to bring it. You got to bring it. If you're in that studio and they hire you, you better have another voice because they're going to call on you to come up with something. So, the acting chops, you got to have, there's got to be, so that's why I say, theater and study and listen to people, listen to the voices now, listen to what they're doing and how they're doing it.
Yeah. And that goes with everything, with every career out there, right? You just, if you want to be the best, you gotta be great at that and practice, and everything is an art. So, well, let's go to a fun segment now. It's and enliven it up a little bit.
Yay! Yeah, I already brought everybody down, didn't I? There's not a hope in hell.
No, you guys can do it. But the whole message is just, if you're gonna do something, you got to go for it 100%. And I think that rings clear for everybody.
In anything, yes.
It's the ins and outs.
Takes.
Ins and outs.
Takes.
With Mackie.
So you can answer these pretty quickly. They're pretty easy.
Okay.
So was there ever a moment in the booth that didn't make it to an episode that was a hard loss?
I can't remember, but yes. I honestly can't remember. There's been stuff that didn't make it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Who are some of the other people you've had the pleasure of sharing the studio with?
Oh, my gosh. Fred Willard. Oh. And when I was in Transformers Animated here at Cartoon Network, we had all kinds of guest stars come in. I walked in one day and I looked around the corner and went, "Hey, Weird Al. I'm sorry. What do I?" And "Hey, that's okay." It was Weird Al. I go, "What are you doing here?" I forget. Oh, that's right. They live here. It was weird. There was some amazing actors that came in, guest starred on that. Oh my God, there was a ton of them, but I'll remember more when the interview's over, of course. But it's been a ton.
What's one character you love to mimic but it's voiced by another actor?
Mark Hamill, and that's another example of somebody I've worked with who is, I remember we were doing Avengers Assemble, the cartoon series, and I walked in one day and "Hey, got a surprise for you." "Well, what's going on?" "You know how you said you always wanted to meet Stan Lee, you never work with him?" He said, "Well, he's here," and I go, "What?" and happening Mark Hamill's birthday that day.
Oh my gosh!
What a day. So what a day that was! And I walk in because I worked with Mark on regular show. I played the giant baby. Yes, there must be cake. Where is the cake? Reginald Giant Baby, and Mark was Skips, and I love doing Skips' voice because it was always, "What are you guys doing? You're gonna blow up the universe." And Mark would always say, "What's my intention here? These kids," and he would talk like, he'd talk. And then he disappeared for months on end, and I remember somebody said, "Where's Hamill?" He goes, "Oh, he's doing some little movie." Of course, it was Star Wars. He's great and Stan Lee, when it walked in, I met Stan I've never met, and I've done a bunch of your shows. And he goes, "Well, who do you play on the show?" And I said, "I'm Vision. I play Vision, and I play Baron von Zemo." "Oh, give me a little Baron von Zemo." And I went, "Of course, it's time for me to die. I'm going to die a horrible death. Yes, von Zemo." And "That's very good, very good. Very." And I go, "Oh my God, Stan Lee. I'm talking to Stan." And I remember that the Hamill, he goes, and we all looked at the little stand with the script on it with Stan Lee's words in the scene he was in, and the words, of course, are giant. They're like that big font. And my buddy Trevor DeVal says, look at the size of the font. Holy smokes. And Hamill says, hey, we should all be so lucky to have font that big one day. So we're like, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was a moment. You know.
Gosh, you do so much with your voice. Do you have any
What do
vocal
you guys
warm-ups?
gonna do?
No, I don't. And I had to tell you, a little while ago, I don't know if it was stress or what, but I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, I kind of lost. I lost the resonance. I couldn't do it, and I was freaking out. I have the ENT on speed dial, and he saw me, and it's apparently it's as you get older, it's a little acid reflux. And you go to bed
That's
at
what
night.
it is.
I go, oh God, because nothing was damaged. And I thought for sure, oh great, that's it. Okay, we're retired. Awesome.
It's just
My
a new
wife is,
character.
yeah, calm down. Just calm down.
So you've been a part of several franchises that have been rebooted: Transformers, Ben 10. Do you have a favorite version of those, or in the case of Transformers, a favorite character or version of a character?
No, I don't know. They're all. I mean, I can't choose. I mean, even the ones that people don't like, I like, because I'm still amazed that they actually hire me to do anything. I honestly, there's a new show that I cannot talk about at all. That's going to be announced soon. But I got a call on that one. I was like, really? Wow. I'm surprised. Is there not other voice actors they could have hired for this role? I'm still honestly amazed. And I got to work on Green Eggs and Ham, the Dr. Seuss series on Netflix, and went over to Warner Brothers over here, and to do some ADR and some new lines, and they played a scene where I had to do some fill in the lip flaps of a character, and there's a giant screen in one of the big sound stages. And I saw my character and my voice coming out of a Dr. Seuss character, and I almost literally cried.
Wow.
Because I grew up on Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
I grew up on the things, the places you'll go. That's my mantra. That's my
Wow.
So I don't know. That was
amazing.
pretty crazy. So I'm just happy to be in the room, honestly.
You began campaigning for Megatron 2020, and your counterpart.
I had that shirt on today. Yeah.
I'm like, where's the shirt? Your counterpart, Gary Chalk,
Yeah.
came in with the hashtag Team Primal. Can you tell us about this crazy Twitter war you got going on?
Who is Gary? Who? Gary? I'm sorry.
Gary Chalk?
Gary. No, it's okay. I'm messing with you. A couple months ago, when we got out of quarantine, we went up to Canada in a place called Kelowna, British Columbia. Hi, Kelowna. First person to call me when we were out the first day of quarantine. I'm in the car charging the Tesla, and the phone rings, and it's like Gary Chalk, because he's in Vancouver. I haven't seen Gary for years. He goes, "Hey, Gary, how are you? It's the big monkey calling me." And we had a wonderful talk. Normally, when I'm talking with Gary is at a convention, and he's on and he's doing his fan thing. We never really have a conversation, but we had a really great conversation about recording the show and Beast Wars, and I started doing these goofy little Christmas songs of Megatron, and now Gary's doing some stuff, and I don't want to do it now because you're doing it, and then this sort of Twitter thing started happening, and the fans, everybody's loving it. It's something to keep them engaged. There's a whole fandom out there that doesn't go to any conventions right now. There's no conventions, and they're God bless them. They come by the thousands, and they're the reason these shows even exist. These toys even exist because the fans. So there's no outlet. So it's kind of fun that Gary and I and the big monkey and the purple dinosaur are having a bit of a Twitter thing. It's just it's all in good fun.
Well, this is awesome. This was great, David. Was there anything that you wanted to add? I know you have a YouTube channel, or anything you want to share with our listeners today?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, last week tonight's still going, and we got a bunch of cartoons are still rolling, and of course Ratchet and Clank's coming out. Looking forward to that because it's going to be awesome. There's a few things I can't mention, but I know I'm a kind of a wine nerd, cork dork, as it were, and there's a. We do a show called Hollywood and Wine, and I've been interviewing some of my favorite folks in the animation industry that I know, and pairing them up with some. I know a lot of wine people in Sonoma and Napa, and they've had a rough year this year, and so that's kind of on hold because the Zoom thing. I'd rather wait till we're able to one day get back and do a restaurant and support the restaurateurs and the winemakers and have a lot of fun. We got started to get some eyes and views, but there is a wine show I'm doing up in Canada in the Okanagan, probably called Okanagan Uncorked, and we're beginning to film some scenes and stuff with that, and I'll be able to go up there in March and resume that. So that's sort of on the horizon. Guys, it's just a passion project. I'm passionate about it. It's hard work, like anything, like you said, to make wine. And it's such a tough year. I want to do all I can to support those farmers and growers and the workers in the industry because due to COVID and due to the fires and all that stuff, it's going to be 1 to 4 years minimum before they get back on some kind of stable financial footing. And 1 in 10 wineries aren't going to be back. The restaurant business, as we know, has been decimated. So anything I can do to sort of help that industry, because I love it. There's a beauty about it. There's the bucolic. It's when you're driving through Sonoma and Napa, it's very bucolic, like you're driving through a painting, and it's a calming thing.
Yeah.
So I love that sort of. If I could sort of live in that painting and then just not even drink the wine, just to be in that environment up there or in wine country, Santa Ynez, I love it up there. I dig it so much. So that's sort of a side passion project for me. But yeah, there's a lot of things that are coming out that I can't say anything about.
That's okay. Well, we thank you for joining us today. We learned a lot more about you. We're very grateful to have had you here on the show today to talk about all of our favorite shows. I think that's it. Thank you so much, David.
Oh, and thank you guys. Thanks for the stuff. I can't. This is really what a treat. And Mackie and I we will go back to the beginning of it all. So thank you very, very much.
Once again, this was David Kaye. I'm Jamie Hernandez, and this is the Ins and Outs with Mackie, a show about awesome gear and awesome people. We'll be bringing you musicians, engineers, podcasters, streamers, and sometimes the occasional Mackoid. If you're new to the show, make sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite platform to get all the latest Mackie updates as soon as they are out. Until next time, Mackoids.
It's the